Let's get straight into this. Rachel Reeves in the House of Commons telling us what the future holds. Mystic Reeves, as you will. She had to read out some figures from the Office for Budget Responsibility, and they're the ones who look at what's going on and say, if we carried on like this with all the measures you're doing, we're going to grow, or we're going to not grow, or we're going to shrink. Just quick heads up, growing good, shrinking bad. Okay, that's what we're looking for here. They had said in October, we're going to grow by 2%. We didn't love it. No one was like, oh, goody gumdrops, 2%, woohoo. But this year, just now, Rachel Reeves came out and said that actually they've changed it. And we all went, oh, has it changed for good? And she said, no, it's not changed for good. 1%. Halved. During this Labour government's term, the outlook has halved. Inflation is down from 3% to 2.8%. So prices are still going up, but the rate at which they're going up has gone from 3 to 2.8, which is still too high. The target is 2. And today we found out we're not going to get to 2 until 2027. Inflation's bad. Growth is bad. Inflation is high. But hey, don't look so down. Don't look so grumpy. The future, like the far future, not like the near future. The near future looks pretty rubbish, right? But if you look past that, well, like binoculars, then things are good. The OBR, the Office of Budget Responsibility, is saying, hey, we're going to grow loads, just in quite a long time's way. This time next year, they say, we'll be millionaires. And Rachel Reeves promised you 500 quid. Yeah. So by the end of this Parliament, 2029, I think, you'll be 500 quid better off, you are. It's nice, isn't it? So, what's she gonna do about it? Well, she's gonna cut some more. She's gonna cut the universal credit health element. They've just been, last week, they came for the universal credit health element. We've seen disability benefits cut, PIP especially, and that's going to get £4.8 billion. She needs to squeeze the benefits bill some more so that she gets a few £100 million extra. And the plan is this: the health element, which is what you get if you're living with a disability and you're on universal credit, it's a little bit of a premium you get on top. And she is, for new claimants, she's going to cut it in half. Not only is she going to cut it in half, but she's then going to freeze it. So as things get more expensive, that amount of money is going to stay the same. If you went to the supermarket with that exact amount of money, over the years you'd be able to buy less and less and less. And so we froze until 2029. So that's quite a lot less that I'll be able to buy by then. It's a big cut. We're going to have a leaner civil service, getting stuff done using AI. They love a bit of AI in the government at the moment. We're going to have fewer houses built. Now, this was an interesting one. She just kind of skirted around this, because we've had this 1.5 million houses going to be built by the end of the Parliament. Bish, bash, bosh. Love a bit of housing. Let's get it done. And then she had this long bit about how it's going to be really good for the economy when we got these houses done. And then she just kind of squeaked out that it was 1.3 million. She said it so quickly, I didn't even catch it. My wonderful colleague Lottie was like, yeah, what about the housing? I was like, what about the housing? 1.3, so that's 200,000 houses fewer. Like, that's not a small amount of houses. 200,000 houses. That's nearly 1 million people's worth of housing. But it's not all stopping the spending. We all know the government are looking to expand the armed forces to 2.5% of GDP. But before that happens, we're going to knock them out a quick £2.2 billion before then, because they want drones and they want more AI. So we've got AI in the civil service, we've got AI in the army, we've got AI everywhere. And they're also helping to house people, because like some of the housing available to members of the armed forces and members of the armed forces families they are literally a national disgrace. There's no excuse for it. So we're going to spend money on saving money. For example, if we spend money on giving people exit offers, it's what they used to call offering voluntary redundancy. And you pay them to leave, then some people leave the civil service, and we have a smaller civil service, and everyone wins. And then finally, on investing to save, they're going to put a bit more money into tax fraud and stopping tax fraud people from frauding tax. You got to put the money in because they're so incredibly clever. This lot, obviously despicable, but clever. All of these measures, they're all really laser-like focus on growth, getting growth out. They might not all work. We might not get where we want to be. Don't forget, last October, she stood up and she did all these taxes and cuts and all this stuff and borrowing. And they said, okay, 2%. And now they've come down from that. But things could go better than the 1%. And they could go worse in the future. We don't know. We know that the Conservatives disagree with a lot of it. Mel Stride disagrees with a lot of it. And this is just not enough. You're not doing what you need to do. We'll see. So one thing that she likes to do is to say how terrible the Conservatives are. And let's face it, that's what all politicians like to do for each other's parties. Oh, you're this, you're that, you're this. The problem she's got is she's ignoring the massive elephant in the room. She goes, oh, under the Conservatives, like we did lots of borrowing. It's like, yes, we did. But do you remember the pandemic? Do you remember that time when everyone had to stay indoors? Do you remember furlough? Do you remember the NHS? Do you remember how expensive that was? It's disingenuous because the answer is yes. Yes, Rachel Reeves does remember those things. She is aware of that stuff. She has seen the charts. She chooses to say, under the Conservatives, we had record borrowing. It doesn't make any sense. It's not literate and it's not honest. It's not because of Conservative mismanagement that we have all of this debt. In fact, Conservative austerity, now you remember austerity when George Osborne stood up and cut loads of services, that worked. If by worked you mean cut the national debt and gave us a surplus, then it worked. If you're looking for, not cutting of libraries and healthcare, it didn't work quite so well. But if those financial rules that Rachel Reeves talks about so much, if they're the most important thing, the Conservatives' austerity was a winner. And she can say now, oh, I don't want austerity. That's not my jam. But all the things she says that she wants are things that were achieved by the Conservative government under austerity. So after that success, we had the pandemic and the borrowing went up and all of that. And no one remembers really the financial state of things just before the pandemic. But yeah, today she did it all the time. So often she referred to things that weren't the Conservatives' fault. Take them to task for the stuff they've done. You don't have to blame stuff on them that you agreed with. Like would she not have done furlough? Of course she would. She agreed with it at the time. The other thing today that got on my wick was these predictions of the future. And this is what this spring statement's all about. And it always is. Every single chance that's done it. Does it mean anything? Like, I understand a forecast for like the next year, how much you're going to grow or not. That makes sense. I get that. But then in 2 years and in 3 years, Rachel Reeves stood up today and said that by the end of this parliament, 2029, by 2029, we'd all be £500 better off. By 2029. It's quite specific, isn't it? Quite specifically, £500. Let's not, it sounds a lot, it sounds nice, but inflation will have eaten into it. So it's £41 a month, £500. By 2029, how much is a Netflix subscription going to be? Or a Spotify subscription? Certainly, you're not going to get into a Manchester United football match for £500. Future doesn't mean anything at all. Just one thought on that. If you look at a future weather thing, you wouldn't trust it, right? If it was more than a week away, you would go, oh, right, well, it says it's going to be this, but it probably isn't because it's over a week away. We're talking about 4, 5, 6 years. It's too long. It's nonsense.